Morning, guys. So it's about 6:30 in the morning. We've gotten everything done. Today is a bittersweet day. Today is the day that we have loaded up all of the Red Rangers, and we're now going to go to my buddy Paul's house where we will process my 14 plus his 15. This is never a part of homesteading that I like. However, it's just part of the course if you want to have control of your food. It's never great taking the life of an animal. However, it's a necessity if that's what we're going to choose to eat. These guys were raised on pasture. They lived a much better life than had they been in a factory setting. If you don't believe me, just research chicken factories. Some of those guys, and you'll gain an understanding. So, although it's not very enjoyable while we're doing it, the rewards and appreciation for the food that our family will get, to me, is invaluable. So I'm gonna go ahead. I need to stop and get some ice. We're gonna got these guys loaded up. We're gonna go ahead on over and take care of what we need to today. So come on. All right, everybody, so we just arrived here. There's my batch all piled up there. Paul's got his up there. He's smarter than me. He worked his towards where they need to be, so I'm gonna be carrying. Everything's the same as last time. Got our boiling pot there. Do all of our cutting right here, and then he's filling up some ice chests right now so we can get ready to get started. So we got a lot to do. I'm not going to sit here and record all of them because we got a lot to do. Like I said, we're going to hand pluck these things, so we're in it for the day. But when we get to the last bird or two, I'll try to give you a little detail on how we're breaking it down. Not saying it's the best way to do it, it's just what's worked for us so far. Okay, y'all, so obviously I'm no longer at my buddy Paul's house, and we're not processing chickens right now. We had a little bit of a situation. So we got through my 14 chickens that I need to get processed. We started up about between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, and we finished up about 11:30. We broke for lunch, and my plan was I knew we had a lot of work to get done because we were hand plucking them all. So I told my buddy Paul and his wife Sarah, said, hey, I'm not going to bother filming until we get down to our last few so we can get through the bulk of the work so I can really take my time and give y'all a good breakdown. Well, unfortunately, Paul was working on doing his. We got 10 of his 16 done. Well, really we had 8 done. He was killing the last 2, and on the last one he came down from the kill cone area and he's like, we have a problem, and he's holding his hand real tight. Well, he had sliced kind of right across the top of his index knuckle pretty bad. He had me look at it, and I knew right away he was going to need stitches or something. So we went ahead and had him go on to the urgent care. There was a few chickens that he had already dispatched. And so I went ahead and finished processing those ones out for him. Long story short, they gave him the option of either stitches or to glue it and splint it so it doesn't bend. So he ended up gluing it, but he's gonna be out of work for at least a week. So I didn't get to do a detailed filming because we just had to wrap up with what we had. So what I'm gonna do instead is I got the chickens out. I'm going to show you how much poundage we got from our birds, and we're going to see how much total weight we got from raising these things. So let's go in the house and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, let's get our scale on a good flat surface. Power on. Ready, right, roll. All right, first chicken. 3.52. 4.37. There it is. We totaled 70.85 pounds. So we're just over 70 pounds of total meat for 16 chickens that we raised in a total of 12 weeks here on our homestead. For this being our very first time raising meat chickens, I'm not at all disappointed with that. I don't really get wrapped up in the poundage per se. Now, if there is like maybe one or two that are very small that probably would get eaten in one meal, but I look at each chicken pretty much if they get to like that 4.5 or above poundage wise, I kind of look at each chicken as that's 2 meals. Well, 16 chickens, that's 32 meals. So in the course of a year, if y'all were to do this at least twice a year, between that plus the pork that we raised here on our property, I could pretty much supply the meat that we need here on our small little 3-acre homestead fairly easy, especially as we get better with this and we increase our numbers. So raising your own meat is extremely doable even if you don't have a large piece of property. I'm gonna get these guys back in the freezer and then we're gonna go out on the deck and I'm gonna give you a little bit of a brief rundown in terms of what my takeaways were from now that we've done a larger bit of processing for the first time. All right, so let's talk about my first larger chicken processing that I've ever done. So to recap, for this year was my first time ever raising meat chickens. And me and a friend of mine got together and we ordered 30 in total. Now they threw in about 1 or 2 extra and we ordered Freedom Rangers or Red Rangers. They're basically the same thing, just depends on who you order from is what you get. So we had tremendous success in terms of health of the birds. Leading up to that, our local Tractor Supply did get in a few Cornish crosses. We purchased a few of those as well just to give them a try. We each had about 5 of them. Well, health-wise, both of us lost 3 out of 5 of our Cornish crosses. We lost 0 of our Freedom or Red Rangers. I've yet to taste both of the chickens. I have already cooked 1 Cornish cross chicken and it was very delicious. So I don't have any issues with the taste of a Cornish cross. 2 noticeable differences were though that the Cornish cross seemed to not be as mobile, maybe seemed more lethargic. They grew very fast. They were easier to defeather, and they definitely had larger breast meat compared to the other chickens, but they had less dark meat. The Red Rangers or Freedom Rangers definitely got much bigger than what an egg-laying hen would. Took 4 extra weeks. We raised them for 12 weeks versus 8 weeks. And the full-size ones, mostly the roosters, I would say were very comparable in terms of the white meat as a Cornish cross, but also had large amounts of dark meat along with it. The legs were much, much longer. Now the hens, I feel like don't have near the amount of breast meat as a Cornish cross would. So if you want a Red Ranger or Freedom Ranger and you want the same white meat that you would get from a Cornish cross, you would maybe need to spend the money to get all roosters. Now, I haven't raised a huge amount. This is just my take from my first batch of 16 that I have raised, that I ended up keeping for myself. Would I do this again? Absolutely. Couple things about meat chickens that some people may not tell you though. I had mine in a mobile tractor and I moved them every day. Even with doing that, they smell way worse than any egg-laying hens that I've ever raised. Even my egg layers that stay in their area all the time, yes, it's a larger area, but they are in that area pretty much each day, doesn't smell at all like that area where those meat chickens were raised. And if you don't move them every day and you have larger quantities in a small area, it's going to get really nasty and it's probably not going to be a healthy environment for your chickens. Now, with that said, I didn't move them across a ginormous area. The grass would regrow very fast in the area that they were previously at. I would estimate that I probably kept rotating them kind of down and then back up and then back down in like an S in an area that I would estimate to maybe be about 20 feet wide by maybe 50 or 60 feet long. It wasn't very big at all. And I really just kept them in that one area. And by the time they would start back to their original location, I usually had nothing but green grass and it was like normal. Another thing that I noticed about them compared to egg-laying hens is they drink a lot of water. I guess it's where they're growing so fast. Of course, it's also summertime. So I would highly recommend either having a very large water source, a continuous flowing water source, or you need to have multiple waterers for them. So you need to probably have at least minimally a 5-gallon bucket size, or you need to have multiple standard waters or something that's connected to a hose that will constantly provide them water throughout a day. So we hand plucked this group. It's a large group and we hand plucked them. Like I said, we did my batch of 14 on this big processing day, starting from around 7:45, I'd say be on the safe side, till we finished up right at about noon. That was them processed, you know, the organs and everything removed, and then defeathered and put on ice in a cooler. Pretty much everything that you would need to do other than packaging. We were done by lunchtime. The packaging part of it goes very fast. That's probably, in my opinion, probably the easiest and fastest part of the whole process. We used the shrink bags and they worked out fantastic. I would highly recommend those bags. I'll put a link down to the ones that we bought down below, but they worked out fantastic for us. I would 100% do it again. I foresee in the future, I would like to do 2 batches a year. 1 batch that is processed in the fall and 1 batch that is processed in the spring. I think I would try to avoid doing it here in the middle of the summer, and I would try to avoid doing it in the middle of the winter. I'm gonna kind of work on some ideas on calendar-wise on when I would need to get my chickens to do so, but that's what I'm gonna aim for. I also will definitely try to get a plucker in the near future. I may not get it in time for my next batch, but I do think that that would save us a tremendous amount of time. And for here on my homestead and the size of my household and the amount of chickens that I need to provide for my family, and if I had that plucker, I would feel confident of even doing it myself, just solo, if I had to, and still get done in a reasonable amount of time if I had a plucker. So guys, that's kind of in a nutshell my experience with raising meat chickens for the first time. I think it was a very great experience. I think I would absolutely do it again. I plan to continue to do it. I plan to do it only to provide meat for my family. It's not anything that I see me doing as a business adventure or anything like that. With me working full time, I think that would just be a whole lot to take on. And so my ultimate goal with this, number one, is to provide for my family. Gosh, I got sweat dripping down my lip. It's so hot out here today. But anyways, I think it was a fantastic experience. I learned a lot from it. It gives me a greater appreciation of my meals, just as the pork does. So I think between us raising our own chickens and our own pork on our small 3-acre homestead, I think we should be pretty well self-sufficient on meat here within our home if we really needed it. I'll probably still continue to buy beef from a local farmer. I know where it comes from. I know the quality of it. I don't think I'm set up, nor am I in the position to raise that part of a meat, but we have the pigs and the chickens, and I think that'll be our source of meat for the future to come, unless we were to ever end up with a bigger piece of property in the future. So guys, I hope some of this was sort of interesting. I hope it was helpful to you if you're on the fence on getting meat chickens. I'll leave it up to you in terms of if you think Cornish crosses or Freedom Rangers are in your near future. I have an idea of what I plan to do. I do plan to do my next 2 batches as 2 different types of birds, but that will be to be determined when we get to that point, and I'll let you know what we're going to do at that time. So if you have any questions about this experience, throw it down in the comments below, or you're welcome to always email me. I'll respond to you as fast as I can. I appreciate all y'all's support. I appreciate you coming along on the journey with us. Y'all be good and enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you here real soon on the next video. Y'all be good.